Hello, Tennessean viewers and readers. This is David Plazas, the Opinion and Engagement Director here, and I have the pleasure of having with me Olivia Hill, who is a candidate for Metro Council at-Large in the 2023 municipal race coming into the September 14th runoff. Olivia, how are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful.
Would you tell the viewers, why are you running for this position?
I'm running to ensure that Nashville's underground utilities and infrastructure grow at the same rate that the rest of Nashville is trying to grow.
And tell us a little bit about your past experience, because from your questionnaire, you have extensive experience in infrastructure.
Yes, thank you so much. So I did 10 years in the Navy, where I did 3 deployments in the Persian Gulf, including combat and Desert Storm. And then after I got out of the Navy, I came back to Nashville, where I took a job at Vanderbilt University, where I worked for 26 years. I started my way at the bottom. I started at the bottom, worked my way all the way to the top as plant manager. And along the way, I held every single position. By trade, I'm a plumber, pipe fitter, welder, high voltage electrician, diesel mechanic, jet engine mechanic, boiler specialist, union shop steward, and I even helped design the control system that's currently running Vanderbilt Power Plant right now.
And I know some of the issues that have come up in this election are the issues of growth and whether Nashville can handle its growth. Talk to us a little bit about your perceptions of growth here in the city and how you think you can contribute to the conversation.
Well, everybody understands Nashville traffic and how much traffic has increased with all the people that have moved here and with the way that Nashville has grown. The same traffic has been seen on all of our utilities. So power, water, sewer, storm drains, internet, phone service, cell service has all seen extra traffic. And we need to ensure that the rest of the things grow at the same rate we're trying to grow the rest of the city.
I know there's been a lot of conversation over the years. I've been here, I guess, 4 mayors ago. So it's been quite a few mayors in the short time that I've been here. But they were talking about connecting departments to each other, whether it's Public Works, which now has become NDOT, the Nashville Department of Transportation, and the water services and so forth. So it's definitely an issue that people are very much paying attention to. I know that one of the things that you'd mentioned in the questionnaire, you talked about improving our infrastructure and utilities, making it easier to travel in the city and find solutions for those who are unhoused. Would you talk about the third one, about finding solutions for those who are unhoused?
I have noticed when I've talked to so many people around the city that I have learned that so many departments do not speak to each other. I would love to be able to find a way to get all of the departments to speak, kind of like where we have Hub, and if we have an issue out in town, we can go on to Hub and then connect people that way and get things taken care of. And I would love to be able to connect all the departments in the same way that if Piedmont is going to tear up Fifth Avenue to replace the gas line, that it's also connected to all the other departments, so that if there's any other utilities in that street that need to be taken care of at the same time, that they're all done only one time, and that we do one dig and take care of everything. And I think that alone will save the taxpayers an awful lot of money.
You mentioned it. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was done.
You mentioned in your questionnaire as well that you want a leader who's going to fight for every zip code. And I know there's been conversations over the past that some zip codes get more attention than others. Could you elaborate upon that a little bit?
You know, it's one of the things that I've learned growing up and since my time in the Navy. As a combat veteran, I put my life on the line for every single person in this country, not just the people that look like me, not the people that are like me, and not the people that I like, for every single person. And I use that analogy as when I run. I run for every single person in this town. It doesn't matter anything. I want to work for every single person.
And what are some of the things, because you mentioned again a couple of times affordable housing and housing solutions. You mentioned in the questionnaire that you're in Bellevue, and this 525 square mile county has a lot of different contrasts and places to live. What are some of the unique challenges that you're seeing across the county?
Well, one of the things that people talk about affordable housing, and I think affordable housing is actually a 3-part question. And the answer is we've got to have affordable housing, but we need to have affordable housing in every area of Nashville, not just in certain areas that we make affordable housing and those people need to live over there. We need affordable housing in every single area. Number 2, we need good paying jobs so that once someone gets affordable housing, they can afford to stay there. And number 2, we've got to have transit so that people can get from their affordable housing to a good paying job and back home so that they can keep that affordable housing and keep that good job. They're all interlinked together.
I know one of the things that has been talked about, and we'd mentioned this in the questionnaire, is the East Bank development, making sure that it works for people. Could you talk to us a little bit about your perceptions about what has happened there and what you would like to see happen as we get into a new administration?
I would love to ensure that it is equitable to every single person. I would love to be involved. That we're not just moving downtown and taking over that side of East Nashville. That is grown equitable and it's fair and everything to everybody.
I know that one of the issues that has been brought up in the campaign is the issue of public safety. We're recording this video on August 16th, just last night. The Metro Council agreed to continue the license plate reader program. What are your thoughts in terms of how do we keep Nashville safe and make
Well,
it
I
safer?
don't think there's a lot of things we can do. We have got to pay police officers more so that we can keep more police officers. We got to have more police officers. We got to pay them to stay longer, and we need some sort of a retention. But I think that if we had a retention bonus for the first 3 to 5 years, that we get them to stay longer over that hump, that we can get them to stick around. We invest an awful lot of money into their training. We need to invest a little bit more into keeping them. Number two, I don't think license plate readers is a way to make people safe. I think it's a way for certain people to feel safe, but I don't think it makes people safer.
And I want to ask you a little bit about your own journey. What motivated you to run for office? And tell us a little bit more about you.
So my name's Olivia Hill. I'm born and raised here in Nashville. I'm a fourth generation Nashvilleian. I felt like me growing up, and I was able to be and portray me until age 10 when I wanted to start wearing dresses to school. And then I was forced to see a psychiatrist for 2 years to teach me that I had to be and think and portray a boy. And it wasn't until I was in my mid 50s that I decided I was tired of living that side and I wanted to be my true authentic self. And so I came out to Vanderbilt University where I worked. I started my transition and I completed that. And I learned so much. You know, as I transitioned, I really worried about how I'd perceived as a trans person and how I would perceive a trans hate. And the biggest thing I've had is just plain old sexism. I have learned that in my transition that now I have to work 3 times as hard to only advance half as much. I have learned that the very first thing that I lost in my transition was why my white male privilege that I had no idea that I had. And so I spend an awful lot of time trying to speak and educate folks about women's rights and find another word besides privilege because I didn't feel like I had any privilege. I felt like I worked for every single thing that I had. And I didn't realize how much of an advantage I had until that advantage was gone.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that and sharing your story. I know that we're in a really unique situation where Nashville has tended to be a very welcoming community, but we have some politics at the state level that have been very caustic toward the anti-LGBTQ community. Did any of that motivate you in getting involved in politics?
No, yes and no. I got involved with HRC just to stand up for women's rights, and then as I got a little further involved and a little further into politics, I realized how much more important local politics was, and that's when I got involved in a judge's race a couple years ago, and that's how I kind of fell into politics. I am running as Olivia Hill, the qualified person, not Olivia Hill, the trans person. The fact that I'm trans is who I am. It doesn't have anything to do with why I'm running. I don't have any kind of an agenda. I'm not doing this for any other reason other than to help Nashville grow and improve our utilities and infrastructure. The fact that I'm trans is just a fact about me.
Well, thank you so much for that. And I know that over the next 4 years, if you get elected to the council, you'll be dealing with some unique issues related to housing, as we've discussed, growth and infrastructure. And we're still recovering many ways from the impact of the pandemic and the tornado, the bombing. What are some of the first things that you'd like to do if you're elected when you get to the council in terms of trying to motivate some policy?
One of the first couple things I really want to work on is I really want to find a way to connect all of the departments. I want to really start looking at all of our utilities and infrastructure and ensure that, you know, we have a development comes in and ties into a water line on, say, Fifth Avenue, and the prints show that that's a 26-inch water line. But then you find out that that's a 75-year-old line. It's not enough to supply water. and then you tie into the development ties into that, and then the people that live in the development start having trouble, and they find out that the water line's not big enough. And once that happens, then it falls on Metro Water, and Metro Water doesn't always have the budget to fix all of those problems. So we need to be aware of those up front. And if we just put a little effort into what size line is there, how old that line is, what the wall thickness is, and some other things that I don't want to go too deep into the weeds about it, but there's a lot of things that can be done on the front end to ensure that the taxpayers are not paying for a whole lot on the back end.
I think this is a really interesting issue. And I've talked to people out on the field. This massive growth that we've been seeing over the last several years puts pressure on water lines, on garbage pickup. And we have the issues of where are we going to store our garbage if the landfill closes in Rutherford County? All these issues that are really relevant to everyday living. And these are the things that local government are all about.
Yes. And then we've looked at, like, say, the Southeast have had a lot of issues with their substation and electrical. And I would like to say that if that, and NES says they don't have the money to upgrade the substations in those areas. And if that's true, and that's the case, then maybe we should look at building other areas until we have the money and the infrastructure to improve the electrical in that area, instead of saying it's not big enough, we don't have the money to fix it, and yet we're going to continue to build in the area.
Yeah, you mentioned transit is an important part of affordable housing, and Nashville has been through that transit referendum that failed in 2018. In your mind, what would you like to see in the future in terms of what would be optimal for the city?
Gosh, I've got some great big huge idea goals, and when I used to work at Vanderbilt, one of my collateral duties is I paid for. It came out of my budget is for the WeGo for everybody that worked at Vanderbilt. It was a very small number of people that worked at Vanderbilt that actually used a bus because it wasn't available to a lot of folks. There was it takes an hour and a half to get from one point A to point B. You'd have to go downtown. You'd have to transfer. It doesn't work on weekends. A lot of second, third shift folks are not available to use it. If there's a chance you're going to get held over and work second or third shift, you may or may not have a ride home. And so it just wasn't available. So we've got to look at a more robust bus system. And my ultimate goal someday, and hopefully the not too distant future, is I would love to see light rail from downtown Riverfront all the way to the airport, so that we can shuttle a lot of the tourists from the airport to downtown and kind of corral them in that area a little bit. And then I would love to see light rail in the media in all the interstates, from west out to Dixon, east out to Lebanon, and up to Gallatin, Clarksville, down to Murfreesboro. And that's going to take us coordinating, working with the state. And that's something that we have to repair, is our relationship with the state. I think it can be done. I think we just have to work for that.
Yeah, could you elaborate a little bit on working for that? Because that's another big issue that's come up again and again, especially for the mayor's race, of how to repair that relationship that has felt so fraught for several years now.
You can't push a rope. And so for us to stand up and say, you have to do this, and for them to stand there and tell us we have to do that, it's never going to work. We've got to put up a little bit of a wall and stand up and not allow them to bully us as hard. But we've also got to find a way to get along and work with them, and not just sitting around kumbaya, we're going to get along. We have to actually do some real structural stuff to sit down and talk and communicate and build some things. And I think we've got to spend some time throughout the mid-state getting some other people elected outside of Davidson County as well. I think that's going to help.
One of the things I love to ask candidates is about the places they recommended to visitors. And you had mentioned the Nashville Zoo, the Nashville Opera, and also Shelby Bottoms Nature Center and Greenway. Tell me about it. What are those some of your favorite places?
I just love opera. Opera has always been one of those things that I have dreamed of. A good friend of mine introduced me to opera just a few short years ago, and I just love opera. Opera is kind of one of those things you really kind of love or hate. But I love music. I love animals. I love going to the zoo. I love to spend time there and connect with just outside. Shelby Bottoms, I played Little League ball. So I played out Shelby Park and out in that area. My dad lives over off Riverside Drive. So I have some family over on that side too. I just love outside. I love nature. I love the greenways. I love riding my bike on all the different greenways and roads.
Well, thank you very much. And as we're coming to the conclusion of the conversation, is there anything that you'd like to add that you haven't yet talked about your campaign?
Gosh, I'd love to say thank you to every single person that's helped me along the way. Um, you know, when I started this journey into politics, and I made all my political calls, um, almost every political official that I talked to almost gave me the same two pieces of advice. One, Olivia, you're going to meet some of the nicest people you will ever know. And two, you have no idea how big Davidson County is until you start campaigning an entire county. And both have turned to be true. I have met some of the most wonderful people that I have ever become to know, and be able to be in the circles that I never had an opportunity to be in. Uh, and cover this county is huge. I've had a lot of fun. I'm tired, but I am having an absolute blast.
Well, thank you very much. If people want to know more about your campaign, where should they go to?
VoteOliviaHill.com, and there's an area on there you can ask me questions and send me messages. And there's my issues page on there. You can read about a little more in depth about why I'm running, what I'm doing, and what I hope to do once I get in office, and learn more about me.
I'm so appreciative of Olivia Hill, candidate for Metro Council at Large. Early voting starts on August 25th, goes to September 9th, and the election is September 14th. Let's make sure to go out and vote. Thank you so much, Olivia Hill.
Thank you so very much, David. I appreciate your time.